Time. Mark, 15 seconds until airtime.
The following is a presentation of Learfield. Welcome to Duck Insider.
Our whole athletic department, there's a level of expectations of success.
Throw, catch, touchdown, Oregon.
He can run and slam.
He's back out for a three. Left wing is good.
In the air to center, back at the wall. It's out of here.
Really excited that we get to rep our Ducks and hopefully come back to Eugene with some championships.
Indoor track and field national champion. And for the fourth time in the last 6 years, the Ducks are Pac-12 champions.
We have so many teams that are excelling right now, and it's really fun to be a part of.
Give it to me, baby. My house. I'm taking it there.
This is Duck Insider on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield, presented by On Point Community Credit Union. Better banking, local solutions. Live from the Country Financial Studio, here's Joey Mack.
Thank you. We've got Mike Jorgensen, Georgie, coming up. He'll join us in just a little while via Zoom to recap what was the Oregon football season and what is going to be the Oregon football season as we get ready to watch the new Oregon head coach Dan Lanning and his duties as defensive coordinator against Bama. It'd be cool to see him win a national championship, wouldn't it? I am really looking forward to it, and I hope that on Monday everything goes well. So we're going to talk with Georgie to recap the season that was. If you're just joining us, Oregon men's basketball is in COVID-19 protocol, which means that there will be no game against Oregon State in Corvallis on Saturday. Still don't have a date for when that game will be played, as it is postponed officially. Same thing with the Colorado game from Monday when we have new dates to tell you about. We'll announce them here on the show and follow along with the Oregon social media. The good news is that Oregon women's basketball is traveling to the Bay Area today, and Kelly Graves met with the media yesterday while we were actually on the air doing the show. We've got that press conference for you coming up, and we're going to also have a little bit of fun tomorrow with Jerry Allen, the voice of the Ducks. We've got a fun thing for those of you who maybe missed it over the holiday break. A really cool honor for Jerry Allen. We're going to have that on the show for you tomorrow as well. Before we talk to Georgie, good news, Duck fans. Oregon Athletic Director Rob Mullins has announced a contract extension for head volleyball coach Matt Ulmer that runs through the 2025 season. Rob Mullins said, quote, "Matt has created a culture centered on student-athlete success in all facets. Oregon volleyball consistently competes nationally and at the top levels of the Pac-12 while achieving at a high level academically. Because of Matt's energy and dedication, he is a huge part of our department and highly engaged in the Eugene community. We look forward to continued student-athlete successes and positive experiences under Matt's continued leadership." That's Rob Mullins with a contract extension announced for Matt Ulmer through the 2025 season. Through 5 seasons at the helm of the program, Ulmer is 87-57, just over 60% for his win rate, with a 55-43 record in Pac-12 play. Ulmer has also led Oregon to 4 NCAA tournament appearances, including a run to the Elite Eight in 2018 and a trip to the Sweet 16 during the 21 season. Coach Ulmer said, quote, "I want to say thank you to President Schill, Rob Mullins, and Lisa Peterson for their continued support. My family and I love being Ducks and being part of the Oregon community. So grateful for the relationships that have been made with our past, current, and future student athletes and staff. This is truly a special place, and we continue to strive to be our best selves, and we look forward to creating an amazing amount of memories on and off the court." Love it from Matt Ulmer. Ducks capped off an unprecedented 2021 calendar year with a 22-9 record in the recently completed fall campaign. The season featured the program's 4th trip to the NCAAs under Matt Ulmer, 5 wins over ranked opponents, including Oregon's first ever sweep of Stanford and a straight set victory over Penn State in Eugene during that Pac-12 Big Ten Challenge. God, that was a fun tournament to be a part of. Oregon reached a season-high number 11 ranking and was ranked among the top 15 teams in the nation for 8 weeks overall. We are grateful for Matt's efforts in creating a positive environment which emphasizes success on and off the court for our Oregon volleyball student athletes, said Oregon Deputy Athletic Director and Senior Women's Administrator Lisa Peterson. I am so excited myself personally for Coach Ulmer and the direction of this program, and awesome to see that he will be back, because individually outside hitter Brooke Nuneviller became the 6th player in program history to become a 2-time AVCA All-American. Coach Ulmer will be the first to say that it's not just him. It's his staff, it's the student athletes, And you can imagine that's why we love Coach Ulmer, right? That's why there's a contract extension in place, which is pretty darn cool, and I am so happy for Coach Ulmer and his program. And I already can't wait to see them back out on the court. They'll be practicing and doing a few spring events, but yeah, the ball still here on the desk. Matt Ulmer, he's with us on the show every day with his first career win, volleyball. So Matt Ulmer, congrats, buddy. Looking forward to having you with us through the 2025 season and beyond. That's right. We also will have our first Oregon Imaging Center's Inside Look today. We do this this time of year. I always kind of go deep and do a deep dive on a topic once a week. Oregon Imaging Center is a proud sponsor of University of Oregon Athletics. Their longtime partners, established in 1988, Oregon Imaging Centers would like to remind you that you have a voice in choosing your medical imaging provider. So choose quality, choose service, choose Oregon Imaging Centers. The choice is yours. Well, our choice today was to do the deep dive into the Oregon football season with Mike Jorgensen. Jorgie will join us. We actually recorded with him earlier today because Jorgie has a job. We often joke that Jorgie comes on with us for fun. It's not for fun all the time. It is sometimes. I don't know. The point that I'm making, though, is that we recorded with Mike Jorgensen this morning because the Ducks are very happy to have him always along for the ride, but he does have a job beyond what he does with the University of Oregon and here with us on the Oregon Sports Network. So we talked with Jorgie actually for about 25 minutes this morning. It was our deep dive brought to you by Oregon Imaging Centers, looking back on the year that was and looking ahead for Oregon football as we put a bow on 2021, and then hopefully that big present's going to get unwrapped for 2022, if you know what I'm getting at. We'll hear from Kelly Graves coming up a little later on, our conversation with Mike Jorgensen. Every year, every January, we talk with Mike Jorgensen. It's our year in review. First of all, Happy New Year, Jorgie. When do I stop saying Happy New Year?
It can go on for a long period of time if it's the first time you've seen that person in the new year.
Right.
But I mean, there's a cutoff date, right? What is that? Is it February 15th?
I was going to say like January 14th.
Okay.
Like,
all right.
So my birthday is January 19th. I feel like if somebody's still saying Happy New Year to me on January 19th, I think that's too late. But Happy New Year, Jorgie. 2022 is going to be better than 2021. Every year, though, I like to do kind of the season that was and then the season that's to come with Jorgie, because Jorgie knows more about Oregon football, I think, than pretty much anybody. So if I asked you, Jorgie, to review the season, the 2021 season, if I asked you to review it in a few sentences, how do you review the season? How do you recap the year?
Well, very solid season. Unfortunately, a disappointing ending to the season. But up into, I think, probably the Pac-12 championship game, even though a lot of people would say, what, you weren't disappointed with the first Utah game? What do you mean? Well, okay, that was the first one. Didn't think it would happen again. It was a carbon copy in Las Vegas. And then obviously a disappointing first half against Oklahoma. But I just think a real solid season, honestly, and people might get mad at me for saying this, but I figured if Oregon was 9-3 or 10-2 at the end of the season, it's a good season, and they're going to find themselves where they want to be, which is in a Pac-12 championship game. That's about where they ended up. It's just, again, a lot of times people have a real short memory, and that short memory is going to be 3 out of 4 of the last games were L's instead of W's for the Ducks. But I just thought, Joey, it was a real solid season. This team, found themselves in some close games that maybe people didn't think were supposed to be close games, but win is what you do when you go to the next week. And they figured out a way to win those close games on the road, at home, whether it's down at UCLA, up at Washington, wherever it might be, at home against Cal. They figured out a way to do it to get to the Pac-12 championship game. So I just think a real solid season and something to build on moving forward.
The Ducks don't shy away from expectations. Rob Mullins is very upfront about that, right? That the expectation is to compete for and win championships. The Ducks were on the doorstep of winning another one. But, Jorgie, I'm curious, you hear from a lot of fans like I do, and you hear from a lot of fans that have been longtime supporters of these programs. And let's be honest. I mean, it's disappointing now because of the way Oregon has performed. It's disappointing when you don't win a championship. That's a good problem to have. How do you temper those expectations, Jorgie? I mean, you said it's a solid season, but then there's still some expectations here for next year already.
Yeah, I mean, how you temper them, I don't know. It's great to have high expectations. I think any program should. I mean, if your expectation is to be giddy to be 7-5, which I can tell you, in my 40 years or so being associated with University of Oregon football, there was a time and place went 7-5 or 7-4 when he didn't play 12 games, was a huge season. I mean, whether it was the Freedom Bowl or the Independence Bowl or the Sun Bowl, it was, people were jacked and the expectations weren't there. So that's what made that so great. But you know what you try to do and build over time, which is what Coach Bellotti did, and Chip Kelly and Coach Health for a period of time. And as it's gone on, is the program has just gotten stronger and stronger and stronger, where nationally there's expectations, let alone locally. And so I want those expectations to continue. But with that can come some negativity that goes with it when certain expectations are so high that you can't meet them. And so expectations are going to continue. Coach Lanning and his staff are going to find that real quickly. But it's what you want to build towards, right? I don't want Oregon to ever be at a point where expectations are so low that you don't have to raise that bar very much to be way above those expectations. I want the bar to be high all the time, and this team and coaching staff and athletic department staff trying to reach it. And that's what we do too. You know, we try to do what we do on our broadcast and have high expectations of performance. Well, that's where it is now. I don't want to temper. Go ahead and be critical, but be critical in the right way too, so it doesn't become that becomes damaging to a program. That's what I don't want to see. I
agree with that so much. You said that much more eloquently than I ever could, and that's why I ask you these questions, and then I just hand the floor over to Jorgie. You know, I think it was an up and down season too in terms of injuries, right? I mean, you know, Jorgie, I'm not going to sit here and ask you like, is this the most injured team that you've ever seen? And you look around the country, I don't know. I mean, I think that there's attrition on every roster, but it's safe to say that we saw a lot of players, nearly 50 different players started a game for the Ducks this season, Jorgie. I mean, that's a high number, I think. That's a safe statement. That's a high number. Yeah,
I mean, that's amazing. And those injuries happened so early in the season and were season-ending. Some really key season-ending injuries early on, first game, second game type of situation. And even, you know, Kayvon Thibodeau, who was out and kind of back in and that type of deal is, you know, his happens in the very first quarter against Fresno State. And he's not playing against Ohio State. And he's not playing against Stony Brook. And he's not playing against Arizona. So he has to sit out 3 games just to get back and do that. And later on in the season, the Bennett Williamses and just guys being dinged up and bruised and everything else that goes with it. You know, again, sometimes memory is a little bit short, so I can't go back 10 or 15 years and remember some of those injured ones. But at the same time, it sure felt like it. And the thing is, the injuries this year were key and critical. And they happened back to back, and they were devastating injuries to the point where you knew you were not going to get them back. And yet this team played on. I mean, we saw it early on against Ohio State and in some of those other games where you were running that gas tank on empty and still making plays and coming up with ways to win. So it was really unfortunate, Joey. You know, everybody'd like to have seen what this team would have performed like 90% healthy or even 85% healthy. But you know what? Everybody plays with it. You got to work your way through it. No excuses. And this team got to where they did with all those injuries, and I think they did a pretty good job of it.
Mark Jorgensen joining us. We've got more coming up with Jorgie, continuing to look back on the Oregon football season and now getting ready for the season ahead. Talk about Dan Lanning, the position groups of strength coming back. And boy, Jorgie and I are going to have a little bit of fun too, unfortunately for both of us. Back after this on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
After 2 years of construction, my wife and I finally moved into our dream home. So when a bathtub fixture broke, causing major water damage, I was glad we had the home insurance protection we needed. How do you know your home is protected? Talk to a Country Financial rep like me, Nick Simon. We can help you understand your options and select coverages to meet your needs. Then if something happens to your home, you won't have any surprises. Need the right coverage for your home but not sure where to start? Visit TakeSimpleSteps.com or contact a local Country representative.
At Shadow Hills Country Club, our all-inclusive event pricing allows us to take care of all of the details while you enjoy your event. Our wedding garden, expansive grounds, ballroom, and meeting rooms can accommodate any size event and come complete with full catering and service staff. From weddings to business and social events, Shadow Hills offers the benefits of a resort atmosphere and the peace of a country setting just minutes from downtown Eugene. For more details, call us today or go to shadowhillsevents.com.
your daily dose of Oregon athletics. This is Duck Insider from Learfield.
You're not too cool for me. And in return, I reciprocate that sentiment. I'll never be too cool for you. I was a man with a plan, but now I'm a dad with a decree, and you can't take that from me. Please let it be noted that I told my job they can dock my pay. Right now, it's just too important to take you to school every day. I want to be legendary for you. I want you to puff out your chest when you go to school, the same way I do. I walk taller because of you, because I found everything to live for.
That's dedication. Visit fatherhood.gov to hear more. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Right now, our country feels divided, but there's a place where people are coming together.
I was nervous to talk to someone so different than me.
Me too.
Love Has No Labels and One Small Step are helping people with different political views, beliefs, and experiences connect through conversation, and it feels good.
This conversation gives me hope.
It gives me a lot of hope, too.
Take a step toward bringing our country and your community together. Start a conversation at lovehasnolabels.com/one small step. A message from StoryCorps, Love Has No Labels, and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to Duck Insider, presented by On Point Community Credit Union. Joy Mack in the Country Financial Studio. Take some of your comments and questions here throughout the show. I think that it's always fun for us to look back at the season that was, and now that we're a couple weeks removed from the Alamo Bowl, it does feel like you can kind of digest it a little bit better. But I think that there is a really cool thing going on here, and we're about to talk about this with Mike Jorgensen, because Kyle just pointed it out. Please touch on the fact that the new coaches are acknowledging history. Lachlan is locked in, pun intended. First of all, great pun. Good work. Absolutely well done, Kyle. But yeah, you've seen it. Carlos Lachlan, we talked about this a little bit yesterday, like, he is just engaging with the previous running backs at Oregon. I love that connection, right? Like, that's what it's all about. It's supposed to be about current past players. That's the Oregon football is the strain that connects all of us together. And yeah, Carlos Lachlan has definitely gone all in about that. Jeff commenting on some recruiting. Well, I can't talk about recruiting until there is a national letter of intent signed because of NCAA compliance rules. I can't confirm nor deny anything along the recruiting trail, but just judging from social media and Coach Dan Lanning, as Jeff points out, posting a pic of a duck, one could infer that, that Dan Lanning is doing some great things on the recruiting trail. Let's hear more from our conversation with Mike Jorgensen. Mike Jorgensen joining us. A lot of highly touted recruits that came in that were pups on this roster, to be honest. And now we're going to see a lot of them moving forward. We'll get to that in a moment. Jorgie, I'm curious your perspective on the Pac-12 bowl season. Of course, didn't get any wins. We'll recap our picks in a moment, and we'll congratulate the rightful winner in Jerry Allen.
What?
Unfortunately.
There was a winner?
So, well, I guess we're doing picks recap now. So, all right. So here's where we sat. I went 1-3 in Pac-12 bowl pick'em. We did not obviously get a UCLA North Carolina State game. The coin went 1-3, and then you and Jerry tied at 2-2. But Jerry was the regular season champion, therefore he's still champion of picks overall.
Okay, but not the champion of the bowl picks is what you're saying.
Yeah, you guys tied.
Okay, all right. And really, I feel like because he took in that Holiday Bowl game, he took UCLA, right?
Yep. And you took NC State.
Okay. And NC State had the trophy presented to them, correct?
Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong. We discussed this on the pregame for the Alamo Bowl. You're not wrong. I mean, technically, Jorgie, you and I could vote and have a quorum. And a majority within the quorum, because we could both vote and say, so that would give you the win in the bowl pick. We could do this.
Let the old man have the win.
The Pac-12 bowl season, though, Jorgie. I mean, look, I thought that the Rose Bowl was a great game. I was hoping that Utah back in the pack would come away with a victory, but the Pac-12 does need to perform better in bowl season and in non-conference season, and the Ducks are going to be a first big test in that, playing Georgia to start next season. I don't know, Georgia, just your thoughts on the Pac-12 as a whole at the end of this season.
Yeah, I mean, that's 2 years in a row, right? I know last year was a shortened season, but that's 2 years in a row. I don't believe the Pac-12 has gotten a victory in a bowl,
right?
Which is pretty disappointing. And Utah did everything they could in a wild, entertaining, great game. I mean, everybody will say for many, many years to come, one of the best Rose Bowls they've ever seen. Oregon's played in a couple of those too. In Wisconsin, Oregon's Wisconsin game with Russell Wilson felt like that game right there, back and forth and back and forth. And I just wish they could have pulled it out, but. At the same time, it was kind of disappointing for me as a Pac-12 guy, and I'm sure it was for a lot of people that are in the Pac-12 on a regular basis. You want to see wins in those bowl games because sometimes there's a maybe too much value being put in those bowls depending on what the matchups are. But when you come out over, and the Pac-12 is already getting beat on nationally in relation to, is it a quality league? Is it not? Is it number 5 of the Power 5 conferences? What's going on? It sure doesn't help your case.
Yep.
And Oregon, obviously, and some other teams are going to have some very tough non-conference tests, preseason tests next year. The one with Georgia, obviously BYU coming to town, Eastern Washington, a tough game kind of sandwiched in between. And I don't know everybody else's schedule, but man, I'll tell you what, that bowl conversation is going to carry into the beginning of the season. And if you don't perform well in the 2022 season to begin with, it just becomes that snowball effect. So we got to get it right. And Oregon's got to be one of those teams, obviously, that leads the way. And I'm looking forward to that being the case under Coach Lanning and the staff.
I think it's safe to say under Coach Lanning, and we'll see what the full recruiting class looks like here the first week of February. And the transfer portal continues to spin wildly. I know everybody wants me to talk about the transfer portal and what's going on. Until we get the compliance word, we can't talk about recruits and all that because I like my job and I don't like getting angry emails from the compliance office in the NCAA. So there's my disclaimer. But, Jorgie, I think it's safe to say that Oregon is probably the preseason favorite in the North again. I think that Utah is probably the preseason favorite in the South, and maybe Utah's the preseason favorite for the entire Pac-12. They got over that hump under Kyle Whittingham, and even though with that 3-point loss in the Rose Bowl, I feel like it's probably Utah-Oregon collision course here yet again, like it's been the last few years.
Yeah, there's a good chance for that, no doubt about it. I mean, I think Washington State would like to have a little bit of word in arguing about who's going to be favored in the North because they returned some pretty good players, and they'll be dangerous, and Oregon's going to have to go on the road to the Palouse, which is always a tough place for them to play other than if it's an empty stadium like it was in 2020, but it's not going to be in 2022. So, yeah, I would think that what you just said about Oregon and Utah being the favorites in each of the North and South divisions and Utah being the Pac-12 champion or being the Pac-12 favorite is right on target, and particularly with who they have coming back. I mean, they do lose some good guys. They lose some great players, frankly. I mean, they lose Britton Covey, who would have been back for his 8th year. I mean, would that have been if you count 2015?
Maybe.
You got to subtract the couple of years in there for the mission and stuff. But getting Keithy back and Fotheringham and some of the tight ends, yeah, they lose some great inside linebackers, but it looks like they've been able to capture a really good portal transfer from Florida. That's an outstanding linebacker. So. Yeah, I just think Utah is going to be the favorite. Oregon probably for the North, and we'll see how this team develops under a new staff, a new system, some new players that maybe we have not seen at key positions, some guys that we're really itching to see play together, Sewell and Flo for a full season, obviously. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how that evolution takes place and how these coaches that he's been able to hire on his staff that are tremendous recruiters, along with being tremendous coaches, who they're able to cherry pick and or retain that have already been recruited. And again, that transfer portal, you just never know. It's tough to know who's in it all the time, right? Because it just happens every day. But man, once they're in it, they're recruited. They can be pulled out of it pretty quickly, and hopefully Oregon has some good success with it.
What excites you about the staff so far, Jorgie, and what excites you about the scheme that Coach Lanning brings? Because if you're like me, you've probably been watching Georgia's defense like a fine-tooth comb over the last few weeks.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I like what he brings to the table in relation to, his side of the ball that he coaches, obviously, with Georgia, and he'll probably pay a majority of his attention to as head coach at Oregon, and that's the defensive side of it. Tony Tuioti from Nebraska, coming here from Nebraska, but having also been in the Pac-12 conference from Cal and coaching at Cal, particularly when they were going through their heyday of some pretty good defenses in 2018 and in that area when they had Evan Weaver and some great defensive linemen and stuff. I get excited about the trenches. I really do. I mean, I just think that, again, having the guys that Oregon has in the trenches with Dorlus and some others that are returning gets me really excited, and who they may be able to add to that group. I think also, Carlos Lockman. I really like him as a running back coach. I think people are going to be really, really surprised at what he gets out of that talented group. And, and who knows who's going to be part of that group or not. But again, I look forward to seeing what happens and how he develops that running back group that I think is pretty talented.
And there we were just talking about Carlos Lockman. As Kyle was addressing, I think that's awesome, right? I mean, and Kyle's kind of joking here. I mean, bring in Hire Campbell LLC, Consultant Campbell. Yeah, I like that. That's great. I mean, look, and Carlos Lockman even tweeted about that. He was like, hey, this is the respect to be paid, and that's to a guy like Gary Campbell. It is to Gary Campbell. Love that. We're going to talk more about Carlos Lockman, more about the Oregon offense, position groups, and then we also got a question about what the biggest battle is going to be for a position group. Jorgie's going to answer that when we come back. Talking Oregon football with the expert himself, Mike Jorgensen, next on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
From the weight room to the classroom, on the field and off it, On Point proudly supports University of Oregon athletics because student athletes do so much more than bring us pride on game day. They bring our entire community together in Eugene and all across Oregon. So whether you're watching the game in the stadium, at home, or at your favorite local business, their success makes all of us stronger. On Point Community Credit Union. Join in. OnPointCU.com. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
As my family continued to grow, I realized I'd have to replace my beloved Jeep with something that has, well, more seats. I'm Jason Hines, Country Financial Rep and father of 7. Whether you're upgrading from your sporty ride with no room for a car seat or finally replacing your well-loved beater that still has a cassette player, you'll want the right protection for your new car. Work with a Country Financial Rep like me and get the protection you need at a price you can afford. Learn more at TakeSimpleSteps.com or contact a local Country representative.
You're listening to Duck Insider. Duck Insider on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
When you went car shopping, you meant business. You aced vehicle history searches and test drives. You out-salesmaned the salesman. Now you've got your wheels. If you manage that, you can get your retirement plan on track. Visiting aceyourretirement.org can help. With 401k tips and smart saving strategies, you'll have the info you need to get more for your future. Go to aceyourretirement.org, because when it comes to speeding past financial challenges, you're an ace. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Look out, world, we're getting strong. The future's here and we belong. She can STEM, she can do more. Like build a rocket and watch it soar. Or clean the oceans and make the world a better place. Oh, she can STEM, so can you. Find a cure, invent something new. There's no challenge in the world that she can't face. She can STEM. Learn more at She Can STEM. A message brought to you by the Ad Council.
Welcome back to Duck Insider, presented by On Point Community Credit Union. Going to continue our conversation with Mike Jorgensen in a moment. Good question coming from Joseph. What type of offense will Oregon be running under Lanning? Well, the exact words from Dan Lanning when he was asked about that was they want to be a dynamic offense. They're going to do things exciting and get players, because that's how you get players, right? They're going to do things exciting, and they're going to get players in the best possible positions. I think you're going to see some fast pace. You're going to see the Ducks spread it out. That's what the successful offenses have done around the country. That's what the two teams that are playing in the national championship game on Monday are doing. And, of course, Dan Lanning and coming from Georgia. Now, he's a defensive guy. He's coming at it from the defensive side. But Kenny Dillingham and some high-powered offenses that he has called, he's going to be the offensive coordinator and the quarterback's coach. I think that there's a lot of excitement around what they're going to do. And for good reason, right? You got to have a dynamic offense in order to get points on the board, and the way you get points on the board is you have the best players. The way that you have the best players is you put points on the board. See how that works? You know, I joke. I kind of say that like tongue-in-cheek. You guys all know what I'm talking about. But, Joseph, I think that you're going to see him spread it out. I think you're going to see him move ball quick. I think you're going to see him try to put some guys in space because anymore, with the type of defenses that are out there and the athletes that are playing defense, you just have to do it that way, right? You have to perform at a high level by putting guys in space. That's what the best teams around the country have been doing. Let's hear a little bit more from Mike Jorgensen. What does he think about that Oregon offense? You know, he's interesting, Jorgie, and I talked about him a little bit yesterday. He has history as a strength and conditioning coach in addition to being an on-field coach. You know, I kind of love that, right? Like, it's such a marriage of those two coaching paths that are really important in any athletic sport, but particularly in football. I think that there's been such a focus on it. I really love the way that the staff is taking shape. And you said what I was thinking too, Jorgie. You got good pieces in the trenches, and now it's a question of where those skill positions fit in, which brings me to the wide receiver position, Jorg. I thought that we saw some flashes in the Alamo Bowl of how good some of the young guys like a Chris Hudson, like a Dante Thornton, like a Troy Franklin can be, because now this is their room. The Ducks, I mean, I feel so bad for guys like Johnny Johnson and Jalen Redd who had their careers finish with injuries, right? You hate that. Absolutely hate that. Saw some flashes, though, from those young guys, I think.
Yeah, I think there at the end of the season, that was really important. And, you know, Hudson particularly, not just in the bowl game, but leading up to the bowl game, he had some really big games down at Utah against Oregon State. You know, Devin Williams obviously has gone on to the NFL, but those two guys in that period of time and the amount of receptions and yards that they had, and then Hudson being able to carry that into next year, let alone Dante Thornton and Franklin and you know, some of the other guys that we saw in the bowl game that played really well, Brevard, you know, so you start looking at the guys that just made big plays in those things. Those are the confidence builders that you truly can take to the next season, that those guys needed to get a taste of in a big time game against a big time opponent to be able to carry, you know, to the next season when they're going to see a very physical Georgia defense, regardless of who's moved on to the NFL on that team and the coach that they don't have now as a coordinator. They're going to be in a dogfight when they go back to Georgia next year and play against the University of Georgia in Atlanta. And that's the type of game and the way they ended the season that really helps those guys out. And, you know, we'll see who's delivering the rock to them, right? I mean, That's the other thing I like about it is, you know, Bo Nix coming in and Ty Thompson and the rest of the guys saying, okay, time to dig the toes in and some competition. I love that. Because I'll tell you what, the guy that deserves to win the job is going to be the guy that earns it. And I'm really excited to see what Coach Dillingham does with that group of guys. And I'm really excited to see Ty Thompson now be able to unleash it and get after it.
Yeah, of course, you just led right to what I was going to ask you as the next question is, of course, the quarterback battle is going to be important, and you answered that. I also really like the tight end group, Jorgie, and then I think in that running back room, I'm fascinated. One in particular guy, where does Seven McGee go? You know, that's one thing, like those guys, maybe some different faces in different positions. A running back, a wide receiver, you know, what can Seven McGee do? Maybe he's a little bit of both. Rob Mosley and I were talking about a taser position the other day.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I think it's going to be fascinating to see how the spring looks because putting guys in those different spots, that's what this staff's going to do. It is a different scheme. It's going to look a little different.
Yeah, and it's what you saw, frankly, with Seven McGee towards the end of the season. Yeah. You know, is the ability to play multiple positions. You know, they'll never be a DeAnthony Thomas again, okay? And I just want to say that, even though I love Seven McGee, and he's got unbelievable athletic ability and quicks and hands and some great instincts and that type of deal. But that's what they began to do with him in the second half of the season, playing him in the slot position, actually having him run pass patterns, getting quick bubble screens to him, bringing on fly sweeps, putting him in the backfield. Okay, are they going to put him in a pass pattern, or are they going to hand it off to him as a true running back? That's what that guy is, the Swiss Army knife. I mean, you can do so much with him. and he's an explosive type of player, and he's going to touch the ball a lot more. He and Byron Cardwell, and obviously a pretty deep running back group, but I think Seven McGee is going to be on the field more than any of those guys because he can play so many different positions. And I look forward to seeing how they use him. And I think that was one of the biggest recruiting wins, frankly, is just making sure he didn't go someplace else and he stayed here.
Yeah, we saw Dan Lanning's recruiting chops in action very quickly with Seven McGee. Over to the defense again, Jorgie. I mean, talk about young playmakers. I think you might have some at cornerback, but the defense, they're definitely going to be looking for some new guys to step up in the secondary with guys like Mikael Wright, a guy like Verone McKinley, the general. You're looking to have maybe one of your colonels move up to that general role for Verone McKinley's replacement. I mean, just what do you think of the secondary? What do you make of the secondary for the Ducks?
Well, I mean, you said it. It's going to be basically virtually a new secondary for the most part. I mean, at safety, at a couple of the corner positions, we saw some of those guys get a chance to play in the Alamo Bowl. Dante Manning's been playing throughout the season, but there's other guys that got sprinkled into that group. One thing I think that group is going to benefit from is a really good defensive line and a really good group of linebackers, because when a QB only has 3 seconds instead of 4.5 seconds to throw the ball, it makes the DBs really, really good in a hurry. So, but again, they're going to get thrown to the wolves right off the bat. I mean, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. They're going to have to step to the table. So getting some of those downs like they did towards the end of the season, it's a very talented group. Now they just need to get game snaps. And that's what they're short on right now, because you had such a great safety and corner group already there that a lot of times they weren't getting as many snaps as they needed to. So spring is going to be really important for the development in a new defense. But, again, nothing like game snaps, and those guys are going to get it right away next year. I'm looking forward to it because I think they've got the capability to be a really good group. They just need to mature.
And talking about the scheme and where guys fit in, guys like Jamal Hill and Bennett Williams, do you find a way to have those guys on the field at the same time, for example, and having those guys back certainly means a lot. That's what I'm fascinated to see with the way that Coach Lanning kind of sees the chessboard of the defense. And maybe the obvious question for you here, Jorgie, as we talk defense, Kayvon Thibodeau, I think we all know, is going to be pretty darn successful in the NFL. At least people who are a lot smarter than me sure think so, and, well, I think so too. Who's the pass rusher? Who are going to be those pass rushers for the Ducks?
Yeah, great question. I mean, I'd love to be able to say I think I know who it is. I mean, maybe it could be Braden Swinson, and I think he's got a chance to really develop into that. Mace Funa from the other side, who I think is a steady Freddy type of guy. But at the same time, it's also got to come from within. You don't expect your defensive tackles or your nose tackle positions to be guys that get sacks. But if the outside guys are good and they can't double up on the inside, Dorless, I think, was a guy on the inside that became one of those guys that could put consistent pressure on the quarterback. And frankly, I think you might be able to bounce him out from time to time and have him play that outside type of position. But that's $1 million question, is how are they going to get to the quarterback? Are you going to have to bring extra heat? Are you going to have to bring linebackers? Are you going to have to bring 5 or 6 guys to do it versus being able to do it with 4 down linemen? So that combination of having a really good inside defensive presence in the trenches that creates a double team, that creates then single blocks on the outside, is what makes those guys a lot better. It's going to be a combination of the group, and I think all of us are kind of waiting to see who that next guy is that steps forward, because we've been able to enjoy it, for 2 to 3 years with Kayvon for sure. Obviously, Dorless, we've seen him have the opportunity to do that. And then Braden Swinson, he's got that capability. He got hurt during the season, had to sit out quite a while. So, again, maybe they dial him up from a different weight standpoint, maybe make him a little bit bigger, because he's really, really athletic. And he reminds me so much of, other than just the pure speed, of Dion Jordan, kind of that praying mantis look. And he might be that next guy.
Biggest question.
Yep,
Bama.
It is.
Well, I was going to ask you the biggest question being Bama or Georgia.
Geez, tough to beat somebody twice in the season. But I tell you, if I was a bet man in Vegas, I would ever have a hard time putting money down against Coach Saban. I mean, Nick Saban just gets it done. I don't care if you beat him once, he figures out how to beat you twice. He just figures out a way to get it done. as much as I'd love to see Georgia win and split, but win the national championship, I think it's going to be Bama again. I think it's going to be roll tide again. So,
dang, I was really hoping that you'd go Bama because I'm going Bama. I'm going Georgia.
Oh, are you? Yeah. Well, I
should say I'm sorry. You've got me so dumbfounded here because I'm going, man. Now I got to rethink everything. If Jorgie thinks that Bama's going to win, then I don't know if I can take Georgia.
Tell you, I don't think Bama played very well against Cincinnati. Even though Cincinnati, I tell you, they played hard, played really well on defense. But I think Bryce Young might have another game like he did the first game against Georgia. Unfortunately for Georgia. So.
Yeah. Okay. Well, time to rethink my entire prediction for Monday. Mike Jorgensen, hey, Jorgie, I got to thank you. It's always fun to kind of do the year in review with you, and now I look forward to getting ready for spring football. Going to be here before we know it. Don't know exactly when yet, everybody, but spring football will be here before we know it, and, of course, Jorgie will be coming out to some practices in some sunshine. Thanks, Jorg.
Can't wait. Hey, guys, thanks for having me on. Really appreciate it. Stay safe and healthy.
That's right. Everybody, stay safe and healthy. Mike Jorgensen, he completely threw me for a ringer. I thought he was going to take Georgia. I really did. I was going into this going, okay, Jorgie's going to pick Georgia, so then I can be like, yeah, I feel good picking Georgia. Yeah, we need a drop board. Scott just did it in my ear, the wah-wah. We need that to play right there. I just feel so I can't believe it. Like I thought he would pick Georgia. Joseph says Georgia this time. Go Dogs. Yeah, that's right. This time. But the next game that Georgia plays, go Ducks. Because it's going to be Oregon and Georgia, which this is a neutral site game, but it's in Atlanta. So I think it's safe to say that a lot of Georgia fans will make the trip a little easier to make the trip if you're a Georgia fan. So I understand. I'm already looking forward to that. It's going to be a good time. My thanks, though, in all seriousness, to Mike Jorgensen. Jorgie has been doing this for 33 years, guys. And nobody knows this program better than him, especially the historic part of the program, which I absolutely love. So looking forward to talking with him coming up more in the spring as well. When we return, Oregon women's basketball will be in action against Stanford. It's a big-time matchup against the number 2 Cardinal on Friday. Terry Johns will have the call with a 6:30 pregame, and we're going to talk with the head coach, Kelly Graves, right after this on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
At Shadow Hills Country Club, our all-inclusive event pricing allows us to take care of all of the details while you enjoy your event. Our wedding garden, expansive grounds, ballroom, and meeting rooms can accommodate any size event and come complete with full catering and service staff. From weddings to business and social events, Shadow Hills offers the benefits of a resort atmosphere and the peace of a country setting just minutes from downtown Eugene. For more details, call us today or go to shadowhillsevents.com.
From the weight room to the classroom, on the field and off it, On Point proudly supports University of Oregon athletics because student athletes do so much more than bring us pride on game day. They bring our entire community together in Eugene and all across Oregon. So whether you're watching the game in the stadium, at home, or at your favorite local business, their success makes all of us stronger. On Point Community Credit Union. Join in. OnPointCU.com. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
This is Duck Insider, presented by On Point Community Credit Union on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Steven.
Who said that?
Me, down here.
Ugh, what are you, a yellow booger?
I'm a banana slug, Steven.
What are you doing in my room?
I'm your sense of adventure. It's been a long time since we've had an adventure in the forest.
Mom took me to the forest last year.
I'm a slug, Steven. It took me a long time to get here.
You're right. I should get out.
Yeah, the forest is not that far away.
Hey, Mom!
Come to the forest where the more adventurous you lives. Check out discovertheforest.org for cool places nearby. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
America, your children have an amazing superpower. That's right. They can help save lives by simply washing their hands. Just 20 seconds of thorough hand washing after they've coughed or sneezed or been outside can help fight against the dastardly spread of germs. Armed with only soap and water and hands, your superhero can protect you, your family, and everyone out there in America land. Amazing! Find out more at coronavirus.gov. A message from the CDC and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to Duck Insider, presented by On Point Community Credit Union. Joey Mack in the Country Financial Studio. Hey, I got a question from somebody on Twitter that was asking about, the baseball schedule being released, softball, lacrosse, a lot of other spring sports are actually starting practice this week as classes resume at the University of Oregon. One question that I have been getting is like, hey, so will there be live streams? Because the baseball schedule didn't show that there were going to be live streams. And yes, for any non-TV game for those sports, we will have a live stream that the Quack Video crew and those of us here at the Oregon Sports Network will put together. So for baseball, for example, we will always have a radio broadcast, home, road, whatever. But the live stream that our crew will put together will be available for every non-TV game. I feel like I probably don't do a good job of marketing that and saying that out loud, but the schedule page for every sport really does have everything. Like if you go to the men's basketball one, for example, it'll show what channel on TV, and then it'll always say Oregon Sports Network, and you can click on Oregon Sports Network, and it brings you to our OSN info page that shows you for every sport where you can tune in. And then similarly, there will be links, right, to watch it on your computer or your phone, listen on your computer or on your phone. There's a couple different ways to do that via the GoDucks app, via the Varsity Network app, which has been really awesome. Those of you who maybe aren't familiar, if you're used to listening on goducks.com/live audio or via the GoDucks app, you actually can listen on the Varsity app as well. Oregon, along with a lot of other broadcasts. I love it as a broadcast nut. I'll go listen to the local guys, right? I want to listen to my counterparts across the country, and I might steal a few things from them. It happens. It's what we do. You learn, you compensate, you adjust, you adapt, you get better. Just like in sports. Yeah. So, yeah, anyway, that will be available, though, for baseball, for example. The brand new turf, by the way, looks great. I don't know if I'm really allowed to talk about that yet. I think I can. I won't show you a picture of it yet, but if you happen to drive around MLK, oh, man, the turf looks great. The new turf at PK is awesome. Meanwhile, Oregon women's basketball, they're on the road at Stanford. Those of you who are in the area, new policies in effect. Visit the Stanford website because student-athlete families will be the only ones admitted for this game against the number 2 Cardinals. 6:30 pregame, 7 o'clock tip. Terry Johns will have the call. Let's hear a little bit from Kelly Graves as he breaks down his team before taking on the Cardinal on Friday.
It's been a little while since we've seen you guys in Pac-12 Power 5 play, and just kind of the state of things with the Pac-12 and all the postponements and cancellations going on. I mean, does it ever pull you back into last year's mode at all of kind of the way things have kind of gone in the conference for the last 2-3 weeks and how you adjust knowing what you guys did last year?
Well, last year's experience can help. I think so far it's been a complete disaster and worse than last year. For whatever reason, I'm not exactly sure. It just appears that this Omicron is, a little more transmissible, and it's hitting everybody. Not hard, but it's hitting everybody. I don't know, just last year at this time, it was kind of surreal with no fans, but it seemed like it was organized. Right now, it's just, I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, and that's made it difficult. Certainly glad that we're, into Pac-12 play. For us, it's a second season. We're kind of in mid-November mode right now, to be honest with you. That's kind of where our team is at. We're trying to play catch up. It's difficult to prepare just because you just don't know. And it's a tough way to go through life, and it's certainly a tough way to go through a basketball season.
Hey, Kelly, thanks for taking the time. I wanted to kind of get your thoughts and pick your brain a little bit on what you think of the new Final Four logo for the women's tournament. Like, obviously, it's like a small thing, but I just wanted to see what your thoughts on it were, what the team's thoughts on it were. Obviously, Sedona's TikTok kind of really showed the disparity in how the NCAA was approaching the tournament last year. What are your thoughts? What are the girls' thoughts on just like the new logo and, the new PR they're going to give it, I guess?
Well, you have to ask the team what their thoughts are. We haven't talked about it as a unit, that specific, the logo. And to be honest with you, I haven't seen it yet myself. I think it was much needed. It should be branded exactly the same. because it's the same entity and it's the same sport. And to be honest with you, I never really paid much attention. I didn't realize that it wasn't, we weren't a March Madness. We refer to it as that, but I'm just glad that we are making strides. I still think we have a long way to go. I think, we still have to continue to be vigilant. And when I say we, everybody that has a stake in the women's basketball game has got to make sure that they carry through. They've given it, the NCAA's given it lip service. They're saying the right things. Now, we've got to follow through to get it done. But in terms of the logo itself, honestly, I haven't seen it. As soon as we're done here, I'll look it up. But it's great. Our Final Fours, I'm glad they've decided to not put it with the men. I don't know if that's a firm decision. I don't think we need it, quite frankly. Our Final Four can stand on its own. It's been sold out for years. It's a big deal. Wherever we go, we can have our convention there. I think it would get lost in the noise if it was in the same city as the men. That's my personal opinion. And then you open yourself up to, you prioritize by the top seeds on down who gets the better hotels. Well, who's going to get the better hotels? Now you got to get 8 nice ones at the same Final Four. Who's going to be stuck with what? So I think that's kind of a tricky subject.
Obviously, predicting kind of what's going to happen in the next few weeks is it might be a fool's errand given all the variables in play. But, acting as if the schedule of the next few weeks is going to unfold as planned. When you say you're in mid-November mode, typically that would mean 6 weeks before you enter conference play. So kind of 6 weeks to be firing on all cylinders. Does it feel like you're on that timeline right now with just getting back some of these healthy bodies, that it is going to be several weeks before you can really feel like you're totally the team you hope you can be?
Yeah, no question about it, Rob. I think it will take some time. I'm hoping that by February we look like the team that we are capable of being. I really think that, our learning curve and our ceiling, so to speak, is higher than most right now. We do have an advantage in that everybody is missing players now because of COVID. So people aren't quite as far ahead as they might be. But we certainly are way back. And just because we have some new players here doesn't mean they're magically going to be able to pick up where they may have left off at some point. It'll take them some time. It'll take the team some time to gel. Those that have been playing more are going to step into roles that may not be the same, and they have to accept, or maybe not accept, but they have to execute that role better. So yeah, we truly are early in November in our team progress, but I think we'll have a chance to catch up sooner than we would have normally. I'm really looking forward to seeing what this group can do if we stay healthy and stay together. I really do think we have a high ceiling.
Hey, Kelly. Hope you're well. Hope you had a good holiday. To piggyback off of Rob's question, with mid-November mode, how do you kind of preach patience for a group that obviously has a lot of really, really high expectations and has had those expectations kind of all season?
Well, it's hard. It's hard. And it starts with me and my staff. I've got to be more patient, realize, hey, we're not where we're going to be, and we're certainly not where we want to be. But we just have to keep grinding. We've adjusted how we've practiced. We actually are trying to go more live in practice than we would normally, just so we can speed up that process, get some repetition in. So that's a little bit different. But yeah, patience is a great word to use, and I've got to practice. I've got to practice more patience. But at the same time, we need to compete each and every day, and it's certainly in our games with some urgency, because we've got some ground to make up.
Going over rosters, that's what I was just looking at. Tell you what. This is the most complete that Oregon's been in a while, isn't it? And that's what Kelly Graves, I think, is excited about, and why you're hearing them say, hey, it's like mid-November. We're going to preview the rest of that matchup when we come back, go through some of the details for those of you who are in the Bay Area, because unfortunately you won't be able to go out and watch this Oregon women's team, but a lot of different ways to tune in. Back after this on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
After 2 years of construction, my wife and I finally moved into our dream home. So when a bathtub fixture broke, causing major water damage, I was glad we had the home insurance protection we needed. How do you know your home is protected? Talk to a Country Financial rep like me, Nick Simon. We can help you understand your options and select coverages to meet your needs. Then if something happens to your home, you won't have any surprises. Need the right coverage for your home but not sure where to start? Visit TakeSimpleSteps.com or contact a local Country representative.
From the weight room to the classroom, on the field and off it, On Point proudly supports University of Oregon athletics because student athletes do so much more than bring us pride on game day. They bring our entire community together in Eugene and all across Oregon. So whether you're watching the game in the stadium, at home, or at your favorite local business, their success makes all of us stronger. On Point Community Credit Union. Join in. OnPointCU.com. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
More Duck Insider coming up on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Watch out! You got me! The galaxy is safe once again.
In the pretend universe, kids play with pretend guns. In the real world, it's up to us to make sure they don't get their hands on a real gun. If you have a gun in the house, keep it locked, unloaded, and stored separately from ammunition. Safe gun storage saves lives. Learn how to make your home safer at endfamilyfire.org. That's endfamilyfire.org. Brought to you by End Family Fire, Brady, and the Ad Council.
Uh-oh, Brad's buzzed.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, he's starting with the woots. And now a speech.
I just want to say that friendship is about heart and brain. Who's with me?
Good thing is, he knows when he's buzzed.
And my brain is saying, when it's time to go home, somebody call me a ride.
Love that guy.
Me too.
Know your buzzed warning signs? Call for a ride when it's time to go home. Buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to Duck Insider, presented by On Point Community Credit Union. Joey Mack inside the Country Financial Studio. So for those of you in the Bay Area wanting to head out to watch this Oregon women's team, unfortunately, Stanford has announced new attendance policies. Only student-athlete families will be admitted to their athletic events for now. We all hope that the curve flattens, things start to kind of level out, because ultimately, fans, man, we're going to miss you. We missed you last year, and I know that there are a lot of Oregon Bay Area fans that were like, hey, we're gonna be there. And so I want everybody to know that you can't. Stanford has made that change this week, so you'll be able to watch it on the Pac-12 network. You can, of course, listen to Terry Johns on the call via the Oregon Sports Network, the Varsity app, the GoDucks app, goducks.com/live audio, all of our OSN affiliates, goducks.com/OSN, where you can tune in your area. But there will be only student-athlete families in attendance. So the Ducks, maybe that helps them on the road. I don't know. It's not a home court advantage as much. We'll see. We'll see. Tomorrow on the show, well, we'll talk to you then.
Okay, forest animals, kids are coming to the forest, and it's up to us to make their visit a good one. Sparrow, have you practiced the most popular bird songs for the year?
Of course.
Catchy. I like it. River, how's the temperature?
It's a refreshing 52 degrees, man.
I love it. Turtle.
He's not here yet, man.
He's late every morning. Okay. Squirrel.
The forest has been preparing just for you. To learn more about cool things to do in the forest, visit discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Tom has been a teacher for over 40 years.